of the organization is to be able to track.
But even like in your presentation, like you said, like 25% of the kids that went through it, like did sustainable development, all that stuff's cool, but that's not money. Like,
yeah. No, I know. I mean, that's what I've been hearing for 4 years.
okay.
So. But I do.
I'm just playing like the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like how, because I know that you're on the other side. So like, how do you talk? Just how like was the most effective strategy for you to convince?
I can't say that there was one, honestly.
Okay.
That's why I'm making this presentation. No, I don't, not to like dismiss your point at all, but that's a debate that is ongoing and it's not resolved.
Yeah.
I would want to talk to Oxfam. Like, how do they reconcile that within their organization that it's an important.
Because there has to be a way to get these people on board. So like, I was just wondering what like different strategies that.
Another strategy that I've heard that I don't know if it's implemented anywhere is to actually make the education component its own foundation. Yeah, and I've seen a proposal for that at Heifer that someone wanted to do, and so then it is self-sufficient. It has to be raising its own funds to support its programs, and anything extra goes to Heifer International.
It's kind of like a separate thing, so there's not that competition.
Right. Yeah, and I think that makes great sense. Yeah. Kathy?
Yeah, I was really, touch base on it to me, or when your presentation is when you talked about the gentleman or woman, I don't know if it was a male or female from Armenia, who was an Armenian on board your staff or in your organization, who reached out to his Armenian community, brought awareness to them. The group from New England became very involved, and then therefore, I think maybe through your organization, if you had other different people from different backgrounds that could, they reach out to other communities of differences that bring more awareness to want to go to, whether it's a cultural connection they have to another country, even if it's so many generations away, it's still a route that they came and they want to help sustain and bring more help to that community.
You know,
it's a way
it doesn't
to
just have to be
generate donor.
Yeah.
People are going to feel a bigger connect.
It's like connection.
Between
build a community between
yeah.
the two groups. Yeah. And it doesn't just have to be diaspora. You could do that with 2 student classrooms.
Yeah.
You could have teleconferencing and really have 2 groups of students working together all year. And those kids in America would raise money to help these kids do their farming project. You know that they would.
Yeah.
So, it can be applied in a lot of different settings. Right?
Kind of related to that, I think 2 thoughts. One is the foundation that I was working for in Ecuador, it's really all about the relationships, and the funding and philanthropy comes out of those individual relationships. So like you were saying, Kathy, having somebody local, whether it's within the organization or developing relationships with particular nationalities that can tie back to a country that you're working in, you might be able to build those bridges so that there's kind of, it's like when you know somebody, that personal connection, if Paula owns that VW Beetle and I have a close connection to her, I'm more likely to listen to her than maybe the data and the facts. And that said, kind of related to that is like education as a philanthropy strategy.
Yeah. So,
by understanding how it works, who's involved, the people, the individuals, the community, this is so-and-so from this community in Mali. Building that relationship, building the education about what you do and how you do it and why you do it, that could also tie in as an actual strategy for the philanthropy, is the actual education, about what you do and who's doing it and why.
Yeah. They actually just moved the education department into the philanthropy area, but I don't think that they have still articulated any of the rest.
Strategy.
Yeah.
And I think in general, your point's really good because people give to people, and that's the basis of most philanthropy departments. But the other thing, we were going back to education and making that part of it, and I think if they resolve their identity crisis and education becomes part of the actual mission, and it's not, because I'm frequently on Heifer's website, I'm a big fan. And I didn't know until today that they actually had a 90-goal village and that education was a huge part. I mean, I know they do training for people who actually receive the livestock, but I didn't know they were actually doing any training for kids here. And I think if that becomes part of the mission of the organization, then the development department won't have such a big deal. Because it's part of what they're raising money for. But right now it sort of seems like, oh, we're raising money for livestock and education for this thing, we're trying to do it over here. And I think if they resolve the identity crisis, I think a lot of the issues you're having in the development department will resolve themselves.
Yeah. And honestly, the only reason education has stuck around so long and not gotten axed is because there are some board members that do feel it's a part of the mission, the greater mission. And so they don't want to let it go. And, that's an identity crisis all the way at the top.
Well, so I think that's their biggest problem, is they need to
Rich
figure
told
out.
me that, Rich apparently worked with him in Africa 20 years ago, and he said, Africa seems like a confused organization. And I was like, yeah, I can see, I was like, where do I get that idea?
I didn't even know they were confused. I didn't even know they were trying to do education.